I found an article in the Washington Post. It was written by Douglas Macmillan and Jonathan O'Connell. The headline reads, ICE documents reveal plan to house 80,000 immigrants in warehouses. The Trump administration plans to build 7 large-scale holding centers to speed up deportations, internal ICE documents show. Welcome to the program, everybody. Tyrone Bowman Live. Well, let's get right down to it. I want to talk about this article. And while many individuals are quote-unquote sleeping and getting caught up in the merrymaking of the solstice season, or Christmas season, whatever they want to call it, the deportation plan is in full swing. And people are being lulled to sleep. They're being blindsided, not paying attention to what's really going on right in front of them. According to the Washington Post, quote, the Trump administration is seeking contractors to help it overhaul the United States immigrant detention system in a plan that includes renovating industrial warehouses to hold more than 80,000 immigration detainees at a time, according to a draft solicitation reviewed by the Washington Post. Rather than shuffling detainees around the country to wherever detention space is available, as happens now, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement aims to speed up deportations by establishing a deliberate feeder system. The documents say newly arrested detainees would be booked into processing sites for a few weeks before being funneled into one of several large-scale warehouses holding 5,000 to 10,000 people each, where they would be staged for deportation. The large-scale warehouses would be located closer to major logistic hubs in Virginia, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, Georgia, and Missouri. 16 smaller warehouses would hold up to 1,500 people each. Let me read that again. The large warehouses would be located close to major logistic hubs in Virginia, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, Georgia, and Missouri. 16 smaller warehouses would hold up to 1,500 people each. The draft solicitation is not final and is subject to changes. ICE plans to share it with private detention companies this week to gauge interest and refine the plan, according to an internal email reviewed by the Post. A formal request for bids could soon follow after that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling people for a long time on this program, privatization is making big money off of the misery of individuals. But people don't want to see it like that. Contracting bidding, private warehousing, renovation of large warehouses, these are prisons. Of course, people don't want to call it that, but that's what they are. They are prisons. It's part of the prison industrial complex. And if individuals are not paying attention, they soon will, because the immigration deportation mission, quote unquote, is not going to go anywhere. It's going to get worse. If the only cities that are not going to be affected, and you'll see, are the Republican cities, Republican states. Every Democratic state is going to feel what's going on. Tricia McLaughlin, a spokeswoman for the Department of Homeland Security, said she cannot confirm the Post's reporting and declined to answer questions about the warehouse plan. Of course, she's not going to talk about it. because she knows it's real. Worse, it's real. The problem is it's been leaked and they can't figure out and understand why or how. But now individuals really need to pay attention to what's going on right in front of them. NBC and Bloomberg News previously reported on ICE's internal discussions about using warehouses as detention centers. The full scope of the project, the locations of the facilities, and other details contained in the solicitation have not been previously disclosed or reported. The warehouse plan would be the next step in President Donald Trump's campaign to detain and deport millions of immigrants, which began with a scramble to expand the nation's immigration detention system, the largest in the world, armed with $45 billion Congress set aside for locking up immigrants. $45 billion, no money for the poor, no money for the sick, no money to protect Social Security, no money for health care and Medicaid, no money for the Affordable Care Act. Because what they're going to do, they can't get rid of it. They're going to tighten it and make it so miserable and so useless and so expensive until everyday people will not be able to afford it. And that's going to be their way of dismantling, eradicating, and destroying, quote unquote, Obamacare. Bring it down to barely nothing. Make the consumer, which would be the people who are sick, make them pay for everything, and the government will pay as little as possible of that bill. That's what's happening. That's what's going on. That's why Congress refused to vote, because they don't have a plan. That's why they've been on their Christmas holiday and vacation. They'll come back in January, right where they left off at. $45 billion Congress set aside for immigration, deportation. So they're armed with $45 billion Congress set aside for locking up immigrants. His administration this year revived dormant prisons, repurposed sections of military bases, and partnered with Republican governors to build immigrant tent encampments in remote regions. That's the key word, remote regions. Isolated places. Republican governors only will share in the profits. Republican governors only will get the money. You know, Republicans only will be privy to what's going on. And that's why it's important that the midterm elections turn out, be as great and possible as it possibly can, because if people continue to just do nothing, they're going to wake up and they're going to be sorry, just like they did in the presidential election almost 1 year ago. They played around, they found out, and they didn't believe a word of it, because they did a great job of making you all hate former Vice President Kamala Harris. The administration has deported more than 579,000 people this year. Border Czar Hogan said earlier this month on the social media platform X, the new facilities, Twitter, will, quote, maximize efficiency, minimize costs, shorten processing times, limit lengths of stay, accelerate the removal process, and promote the, listen to this, safety, dignity, and respect for all in ICE custody. You know, let me tell you, within the Department of Corrections is called CCC, Care, Custody, and Control. Now they have a new slogan, safety, dignity, and respect. And none of that will take place for all in ICE custody. The solicitation said. It's nothing more than a slick campaign ad, a slogan that they craftedly came up with. Quote, we need to get better at treating this like a business. We need to get better at treating this like a business. We need to get better at treating this like a business. That's what it is. It's only business. It's just business, nothing personal. ICE acting director Todd M. Lyons said at a border security conference in April, according to the Arizona Mirror. The administration's goal, he said, was to deport immigrants as efficiently as Amazon moves packages. Like Prime, but with human beings. And basically, they're nothing. To them, they're nothing but cargo. They're packages. They're things. They're not human beings. That came out of the mouth of Tom N. Lyons, the acting ICE director. We need to deport immigrants, quote, as efficiently as Amazon moves packages, like Prime, but with human beings. So basically, they're cargo. You know, the Declaration of Independence considered black people to be 1/3 of a human being. The Declaration of Independence did not include black people because my people were enslaved. Go back and read it carefully. I've read it word for word many, many times. So deportation is nothing more than a package operation, moving people as cargo, as things. The government plans to convert warehouses into at least 7 large-scale detention centers and 16 smaller processing sites. The detention centers will hold 5,000 to 10,000 beds. The processing site will hold 500 to 1,500 beds. And where are they slated? Stafford, Virginia, El Paso, Oklahoma City, Hutchins, Texas, Hagerstown, Maryland, Port Allen, Louisiana, Hammond, Louisiana, Hyde Park, Michigan, Roxbury, New Jersey, Baytown, Texas, Jefferson, Georgia, Salt Lake City, Glendale, Arizona, Jupiter, Florida, San Antonio, Social Circle, Georgia, Los Fresnos, Texas, Tremont, Pennsylvania, Kansas City, Missouri, Murrayville, Indiana, Woodbury, Minnesota, Chester, New York, Merrimack, New Hampshire. This is what is happening. And this is what's going on. Commercial real estate experts say concentrating detainees in warehouses will create its own logistical problem. Such structures are designed for storage and shipping, not human habitation. They tend to be poorly ventilated and lack precise temperature controls. And because they are typically located from far residential areas, they may not have access to the plumbing and sanitation systems needed to support thousands of full-time residents. Quote, it's dehumanizing, said Tania Wolf, an advocate with the National Immigration Project, who is based in New Orleans. About 1 hour south from the site of a planned warehouse in Hammond, Louisiana, you're treating people, for lack of a better term, like cattle. Close quote. ICE plans to heavily modify the structures to include intake areas, housing units with showers and restrooms, a kitchen, dining areas, a medical unit, indoor and outdoor recreation areas, a law library. Why would you need a law library if it's just a holding area? They're prisons. You can call it a warehouse all you want. It's nothing more than a prison. That's it. This is the stuff that they have in prisons. Administrative offices, according to the solicitation, some of the facilities will include special housing designed for families in custody. The majority of the planned warehouses are in towns, communities, and states, led by Republicans supportive of Trump's immigration policies. 2 of the largest warehouses are planned for towns with Democrat-led local governments, Stafford, Virginia, and Kansas City, Missouri. This is called a payoff, ladies and gentlemen. To stimulate and boost the economy, in all these areas that I just read: Stanford, Virginia; El Paso, Oklahoma City; Hutchins, Texas; Hagerstown, Maryland; Port Allen, Louisiana; Hammond, Louisiana; Highland Park, Michigan; Roxbury, New Jersey; Baytown, Texas; Jefferson, Georgia; Salt Lake City; Glendale, Arizona; Jupiter, Florida; San Antonio; Social Circle, Social Circle, Georgia; Los Fresnos, Texas; Tremont, PA; Kansas City, Missouri; Maryville, Indiana; Woodbury, Minnesota; Chester, New York; Merrimack, New Hampshire. These are prisons. Now listen to this. Commercial real estate experts say concentrating detainees in warehouses will create its own logistical problems. Such structures are designed for storage and shipping, not human hesitation. Next time you go into Walmart, take a look around. Walmart is nothing but a big, gigantic warehouse that will be turned into a prison. It will be turned into a immigration detention center. Take a good look. Whether you believe it or not, whether you accept it or not, that's what it really is. Let me just tell you something very plainly. I don't give a damn what you have to say about me, my looks, or my hair. I don't give a damn. Now deal with that. So ICE plans to heavily modify the structures to include intake areas, housing units, showers, restrooms, a kitchen, dining areas, a medical unit, indoor and outdoor recreation areas, a law library, administrative offices, according to the solicitation. And who are going to be the recipients of all these jobs? The people who are rounding up the people. Ex-corrupt cops who come out of prison. Can't get a job nowhere, they'll get a job there. Fired sheriffs, they'll get a job there. It's going to be an all-boys network. The billionaires who are raising the funds and investing, Republican politicians who will have stake in it, stockholders. This is not a game. If you follow the money, you follow the plan. And if you don't think that poverty is a business and incarceration is a business, if you don't think that the prison industrial complex, which was formerly known as the Correction Corporations of America, is big business, take a trip to a lot of these rural towns and rural communities. That's where they build the prisons. Over in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, over $600 million was spent to build Phoenix 1 and Phoenix 2. And the old Greater Fort, known as the Fort, still stands. That's a lot of cheddar. Cheese. Immigration policy, according to the article, is federal, but its impacts are local. Ewan said in an emailed statement, any facility of this scale would affect infrastructure, public safety, and social services. No, you're going to have a lot of deaths that's going to take place because they're going to rush to build these places and they're going to cut by all the safety measures and everything else in an effort to do what they say they're going to do. ICE held more than 68,000 people at the beginning of this month. Agency data shows the largest number on record. Nearly half, or 48%, of these people have no criminal convictions or pending criminal charges, ICE data shows. Some administration officials have complained about the complexity of the current detention system A 2015 government watchdog report found that deportation flights often leave the country with empty seats because of the logistical difficulty of bringing enough people eligible for deportation to an airplane at the same time. The government already awarded one $30 million contract for help with, quote, due diligence services and concept design, end quote, for the new facilities procurement records show. That award fueled a public backlash among members of the Prairie band Pata. Oh, pardon me, my bad. Let me see if I can pronounce this word. Potawatomi Nation. If I mispronounce it, it's a slip up. A Kansas City tribe that said a business connected to the tribe had acted against their wishes in pursuing the contract. Tribal Chairman Joseph, quote, Zeke, end quote, Rupnik said in a December 17 video that the tribe has exited the contract and plans to ensure that our nation's economic interests do not come to conflict with our values in the future. Money is all America cares about. Not the poor, not the needy, not the sick, not the elderly. It's about money. The NFL is about money. The NBA is about money. The NHL is about money. The sports betting game is off the chains here in America. Why do you think they got all these commercials on FanDuel and especially online on Netflix? Every time you turn around, all you see is gambling advertisement, enticing you to spend your hard-earned money under the guise of wishing you good luck. And who do they hire to promote these ads? Black athletes, comedians, and other people to make it look like it's so wonderful. They got a slick ad with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed young lady with two big black guys from the NFL pushing her down the field, and she's trying to entice you to gamble. Think, people, think. But most of you are not going to think. You're not going to wake up until it's too late, too bad, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. That's why on this program, I don't get involved in the foolery and the foolishness, because life is serious. And that's why I deal with serious issues. The business that won the award, KPB Services, which is a legal licensed corporation, could not be reached at phone numbers listed online for the company. Let me tell you who KPB is. Those are all the ones who had the contracts for the commissary and all the prisons throughout the United States of America. Keefe. They're the ones who jack up all the prices 10 times the amount and cause your loved ones to keep calling home, writing home. They forced them to force you to send them money to buy the reject goods that they sell on commissary, which is generic at most. That's why they don't feed them healthy food in prison, because if they did, people would never go to commissary. So they put everything in the prison jail, and that way they can continue to make money off of the misery of those who are incarcerated. The highest newly proposed warehouse would hold up to 10,000 detainees in Stafford, an industrial area 40 miles south of Washington. A facility with capacity for up to 9,500 people is planned for Hutchins near Dallas, and another with space for 90,000 in Hammond east of Baton Rouge. Currently, ICE's biggest facility is a makeshift tent encampment built this summer at the Fort Bliss U.S. Army base in Texas. It now holds around 3,000 people, but was expected to have a capacity of 5,000 by year's end. The warehouse solicitation document names 9 active detention centers as part of the project's final phase, suggesting that at least those facilities will continue to be used. The plan does not mention whether other existing facilities would be phased out. It does not give a timeline for beginning work on the project, but says the facilities must begin accepting detainees 30 to 60 calendar days after the start of construction, meaning they are going to throw this stuff together. Prefab. Staff from facilities of this size is likely to be a challenge. No, it's not. Jason Hauser, a former ICE chief of staff under President Joe Biden, prospective workers will need medical or other specialized training and will have to pass federal security clearances. He said, you know the type of doctors and nurses that are going to work in there? Those who have criminal records. And in order to get their criminal records expunged and or totally eradicated, they got to agree to work in those jails. That's a fact, whether you want to believe it or not. It's a stipulated fact. I believe California built 22 prisons and one university in the past 25 years. I have no doubt about it. And I'm going to end by the way I started. Prison is big business. What they want you to do, they want you not to keep in touch with your family members. They want you to forget them, throw them aside, act like they don't exist, ignore them. Well, I don't see any of the politicians when they go to these camp cupcake prisons. They don't even have walls around them. They're like a sports club. Their relatives can come right up there on the prison grounds where they stay at, and they commit most of the crimes. You know? This is not a joke. I know people who are locked up right now and they are doing major time. Nobody cares about them. The families cannot raise money to be able to help them legally. They're always calling home because they always need something. And every time they call home, they keep interrupting the phone call. You can't even talk in peace on the phone because they have that stupid message that's constantly interrupting the phone call. Some of y'all out there know what I'm talking about. And if you think that this is a game, and if you think they're going to just do this to one group of people and eventually somebody's going to come up with the idea, well, why not do it to any and everybody? What affects one eventually affects all. The midterm elections are coming up. Pay attention, stay alert. I'm going to do my best to inform you and let you know what's going on. But if you don't follow through on it, we have a major presidential election coming up in 2 years. You already know who the Republicans are going to run. That's a no-brainer. That's what Turning Point USA is all about. And their new poster child is Nicki Minaj, the traitor of our own people. Her music is garbage and trash anyway. And the only reason why she's doing this is because she wants a pardon for her husband. You think MAGA is going to embrace her fully? No. They're going to use her and abuse her and throw her out in the streets when they're finished with her. But you'll never be able to come back to the black community because all you're doing is they're going to have you say all the disgusting things about black people that they themselves want to say publicly, but they can't. So they say it behind closed doors with high security around. And this brainless woman is going to be the patsy. I saw her speaking. It's ridiculous. Trashing black women. She's trashing the LGBTQ plus community. And those are the ones who bought your music. Those are the ones who came to your concerts. Those are the ones who made you rich. Those are the people who stood by you when nobody else would. That's why she lost 10 million followers overnight on her Instagram account, and she closed it down. And if she thinks that she is going to trash black people, belittle us, and call herself trying to chastise us, you don't speak for us. She's no spokesperson for us. She's got enough thought coming, because she won't be able to handle the backlash that comes from black America. And it's going to come fast, and it's going to come with fury. So she chose her side, so be it. You want to be a part of MAGA? You want to embrace the bigotry and the racism against your own people? That's your choice. These detention centers, these new prisons, aka warehouses that are being built, you better pay attention. It happened before. You don't think it happened before? They put them in tents during the Japanese internment. Go look it up. The Japanese were paid reparations by the United States of America for the mistreatment that they received. And they close out by saying this. This is what Hauser said. We can always find more warehouses. The ability to operate facilities safely, he said, is always limited by staffing. Basically, what they're going to say is, let me translate that. They don't intend to hire a lot of people. They're going to do what they got to do to pacify people. Look, that's your privilege. You can vote for whoever you want to. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for or who not to vote for. Now, when it starts happening to your family and your city and your town, don't come on here complaining. And your friends and your associates and your relatives. You know? I don't care what you have to say. I'll wear what I want to wear when I want to wear it. You don't tell me what I can wear and what I cannot wear. Listen, they don't have to be nice. I'm a grown man. I can handle the vitriol that comes through this comment section. I'm a self-made man. I wear what I want. Never forget that. You go tell those jerks over in Washington to clean up their acts and to get their house in order. Good article by the Washington Post. Never surrender. Never quit.